Hey there! Your old pal Joe DeSanto here. Alright, I'm continuing my road trip sessions. I'm basically driving. I think you figured that out. This isn't a movie set. It's not green screen. That's a real road out there. I'm driving and I'm taking up some of the driving time with videos. Why not? I'm a big 2-for-1 kind of a guy. Like if I can get two things out of one effort, I'm going to go for it. So what I want to talk about today is manifesting. So, I feel like the cultural we have been hearing about manifesting a little bit more lately. Or when I say lately, in the last many years. Now, when I was younger, we didn't have social media, so there was nobody talking about anything except what you heard on the news, or on TV. But people weren't talking about manifesting. However, I have learned, that many big writers, and thought leaders throughout history have talked about manifesting. I guess I'm learning that as people talk more about manifesting. And also, I will say that I was really originally introduced to manifesting without knowing it through golf. I played a lot of golf as a kid. My dad's a big golfer, so that's what we had in common. And we'd be up on the tee box all the time, and my dad would be like, you have to pre-visualize the shot, and you have to see it going well. If you get up there and you imagine yourself duffing it, that's what's going to happen. But if you imagine it hitting it solidly, a little bit of a draw, landing right on the green where you want it to, you're far more likely to have that outcome. And so we called it positive pre-visualization on the golf course, but of course that is manifesting. So I ended up manifesting something great without, quite honestly, knowing I was manifesting. I didn't even think of it as pre-visualization at the time. But my manifesting story is when I was younger in my 20s, I was living in New York, and if you've read any of my stuff, you might have read me talking about how I was taking the train from Long Island to New York, and it was like an hour. It was like an hour and a half or 2 or 2 hours each way, depending if I got an express or not. And those train rides really motivated me to, want to not do the conventional thing. But the one benefit of the train ride is I got to chill out. I listened to music. I read. And I would essentially daydream. And my mind goes down into these long, deep daydreams often. And they're very realistic. Like I can almost, feel the feelings of some of my daydreams happening. But more specifically when I do it set to music. So there's almost like a soundtrack to the movie that is my daydream. And if I like a song, I'll listen to it over and over and over again, and I'll kind of have this same thought, and I can almost go back, in and out of the daydream, when I listen to the song. So at the time, I was started my career in post-production. I actually took a break for a bit and went and worked on Wall Street in the marketing department at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. And that's where I kind of realized I didn't want to do the suit and the corporate thing. And then I got back into post-production. But I was going to Manhattan, and I always wanted to start my own business, or at least that's what I thought. That was something that my subconscious, I guess, got programmed because my family owned the plumbing business, and so owning a business just seemed like a doable thing and like a good idea. But I didn't want to do plumbing. And once I learned, got into post-production, I was like, oh, I think I could own a post-production business. That would be really fun. It's creative, and it's cool, it's technology, and it's a fun industry. I was enjoying the industry. And so I started to have these daydreams listening to Dave Matthews. I don't know, it's the 90s, and I don't know, I just get caught in these loops on the train, having this daydream about when I opened my post-production company, how I threw a big, grand opening party. And the reason this party idea came to fruition was because at my first post-production job, they threw a party, which I learned is a common thing, like throw a party for clients come, all industry people come, even your competitors. It's just fun. And man, it was a crazy party. It was like a college level party. And I was like, wow, this industry's awesome. So I kept thinking, once I get around to eventually opening my own post-production company, I'm going to have this party. And like, I would really go deep into this party manifestation. I mean, in a way, I guess it kept me going too, because I was making very little money, and doing the schlep, to Manhattan was just like a killer, which eventually I was like, I got to get off this train, which literally I write those words in many of my writings. But I would see myself having the party, and of course I invited all my friends, and I'd have lots of clients, and people were coming up and pat me on the back and shaking my hand and being like, dude, you did it, congratulations, blah blah. I mean, honestly, it was the total self-serving ego trip, but I had accomplished nothing, so I guess it was like, why not? I might as well feel good about something. But I would just do this daydream over and over. So anytime I'd put on the Dave Matthews, which I like to listen to the same music over and over and over and over and over again. Right now I'm continuously listening to the Grateful Dead and Althea. I keep listening to Althea. It's like my new Dave Matthews. Though I liked the Grateful Dead back in college too. Anyway, so I would put Dave Matthews on it, and the daydream would just pick up where it left off, and then I'd roll it again, and I'd roll it again, and I'd roll again, and I'd imagine who was there, and what the place looked like, and what kind of pictures do we have on the wall, and what were our working rooms, and do we have people hanging out in rooms, and like, did we have special tables with different alcohol in different rooms? What was the DJ playing? Probably not Dave Matthews. We need something a little more energy. And honestly, I must have just did this daydream for like a year, on and off, doing this trek. For a year I lived actually in Queens, and I was on the subway 50 minutes each way. And then my girlfriend at the time was like, I can't live in Queens anymore. It's disgusting. And not all of Queens, just this particular area. And we moved out to Long Island, where she was from. So now I was doing this crazy commute. But this daydream would make me feel good, And then eventually what happened was I opened that post-production company, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta have the party. But the first location we had for the post-production company was not party worthy. It was fine, it was a good starter place, but in post-production, at least at the time, your location and your space was a reflection of your level of quality. So we were starting to do work there, but it needed to be more deluxe. It didn't fit my daydream. 3 years in, we moved to our new, more deluxe place, and I was like, man, it's time for the party. The party is happening. We set the date, we invite everyone, and I tell you what, it almost played out exactly like in my mind, that I was like in this. That daydream went back like a decade by that point. No, that was 7 years. I was probably about 23 when I was in that daydream all the time. And I swear to God, music was playing. I'm walking down the hall, people shaking my hand, patting me on the back, congratulating me. Hey man, this place is awesome. Good for you guys. Talking about me and my partners. And I think about it even now. This would have now be about maybe 15 years later. I'm like, it blows my mind, like how close to the daydream the actual party played out. And I wasn't thinking about it as manifestation back then, oddly. It was just keeping my mind busy. Thank God that was a fun way to keep my mind busy, because I think I baked in that experience so that my mind just was gonna draw it out of life. I programmed my mind to think that experience is coming. I'm going to navigate you into, it happening. So that's my manifestation experience that I'm really grateful for, that I didn't know necessarily I was doing. But I tell you what, I do think that manifestation really is a powerful thing, and I've learned even more lately about how we program our subconscious, and often, sadly, we program our subconscious negatively and in a self-sabotaging way, and we don't even realize it, and we got our subconscious working against us all the time. I often have said about myself that I toe the line being a realist and a cynic, and I say that humorously. I guess it's true, but sometimes I'm like, I think that might just be negative subconscious programming, dude, that you have to root out and replace with something good. So what I've been doing now is I've been doing mantras, being like, I love my life. I love my life. I want this. I want that. I think it sounds stupid too, but I think it's been working, and I even did this other video about gratitude journaling. I've been doing that. So these are all good things, but I do think they give you, having positive thoughts and positive mantras and a positive attitude gives you the edge in life and in business and in success and so on. So I'm spending more time working on it and trying to, deliberately plant good ideas in my head. All right, I don't know if that's helpful or not. If not, maybe it's worth a good laugh, but I'll check you in the next video.